Good morning and welcome to our live show. We have a guest, a person of interest, Pastor Ezekiel Mouko. Pastor Ezekiel Mouko has been around for some time. He started in India, he flew to the US, he's come back, he's been doing spiritual work, evangelism, and a lot of mentorship. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, if maybe we can start, who is Pastor Ezekiel Mouko?
Thank you, Brother Eric. You've just mentioned that I've been in the US 2006, 2008, and as I gave talks in some cities like in New York, Chicago, Texas, there's a place where usually the American people don't listen to you unless you tell them who you are. And I think this is a good note to start with. I went to school 1990. I had my BCom degree from India. Then in 1992, I got an MA religion from Andrews University of America. Then as I came back home, I married in 1995. I married Parsheba Nyambeki from Boguche in Nyaribari Church. And God has blessed us with 3 sons, Enoch, Samuel, and Daniel. All of them 4th-year students at various universities in Kenya.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've done well. So, how about your work experience? Have you worked somewhere? What is your interaction? How is your life like?
Okay, I can say that as a pastor, I started my ministry in 1993. I started as a district pastor at Nyaiguta district, that's Nyaribari Church, where I did for 3 years before I proceeded to Nyanjwa College in Kisi town, where I worked as a college chaplain for 2 years again. Then 1998 I got a service call to Nyamira Conference to be a youth director, a chaplain, and a children ministries director, until the year 2002, when I was promoted to take the stewardship department in the conference. So from the year 2002 to 2005, I was a stewardship director at Nyamira Conference. Then come the year 2006 to 2008, I visited the United States of America. Yes.
How is life in the US, especially for Adventists? Because we understand that religion is not mainstream in the US and most parts of the West. So
okay, I can say that as I was there, I experienced good experiences, because this is where the Seventh-day Adventist Church has its headquarters in Maryland. And in fact, I visited that office, and I saw the work where it is from the world, 13 divisions of the world where they operate from. I can say that I visited many churches. As I was there, I visited 16 states, and I visited churches, and I preached in some of these churches. So I can say, of course, as you can say, the experience there, the church has started there, the church is growing there, but you cannot compare it to Africa or third world country, because here the population is higher. Out there, the population is lean. Yes.
So tell us about the mentorship programs, how you've been transforming lives, you've been here and there, you've had great ideas about education, about economic empowerment, socio-economic issues.
Okay, before I actually went to the US, as a chaplain of the Nyamira Conference, I had a chance of meeting students in various schools. I can say I started like Sironga Girls. That time it was not a national school. Nyambaria Boys, I used to visit them, and several of our schools in Nyamira Conference. And later on I could get calls from Nyamira. I could go to Kisii, then I could go to Western Kenya, I could go to Luo Nyanza, I could go to Rift Valley, I would go to Nairobi schools. And I can say I love mentoring young people, especially in academic matters. I love education. So I have about three modules that I interact with when I meet young people. For example, I give them study skills. I talk on exam techniques, and of course I talk about positive attitude, which is basically the best element in terms of success. So I've done it since the year, actually for the last 30 years, I've been going to places. I've gone to academies, I've gone to colleges, I've gone to high schools, and I have many mentees now that I meet in this life.
Talking of exam techniques, we've
Yes.
had a perennial issue with this country where cheating has become normal, has actually been institutionalized. And we remember a few years ago, then Education Cabinet Minister, Honorable Fred Matiang'i, he actually ran into problems with most of the principals, most of the schools. He had to sometimes withhold results because of cheating and exam irregularities. How has this been something that you maybe people might want to understand from your perspective?
Brother Eric, let me tell you that I have had this as a burden in my life, especially up to the year 2016, before CS Matian came in. By the year 2008, 2009, 2010, 2012, many principals used to call me to their schools. And suddenly, they stopped. Why? I think it's because whenever I went to meet these students, I could discourage them on cheating. I could just tell them, be yourself, do your things. So from that time up to 2016, I can say my mentorship went low because I was not invited to these schools. And I think I can guess the reason was exams were everywhere. So there's no need for any struggle. Until 2016, when CS Matiang'i actually saved this country from going to the dogs. Because exams were on the markets, and even elderly old women could tell you, well, you have not seen this exam, they are just here everywhere. And I actually want to thank our CS because he redeemed the image of Kenyan education by putting in very strong elements that have helped us this far.
So far, so where does that leave our education system, especially a huge population had already passed through that, let me say, a weakened education system, or a very opaque system where people could be awarded grades depending on whom you know, what you give, and is that really good for the people who had already passed through, especially those years?
I may not be able to dwell on that because that was a mistake which caught many people, and this could be the result of why several young people have stayed in the universities doing medicine, engineering, courses they had taken because they had A's, and practically at the ground it becomes very difficult for them. For now, I don't want to discourage anyone because mistake is a mistake, and we should learn to overleave them and move forward. What I think I should say here is that our young people should be told that life is in their own hands. Their destiny is their own hands. They should not rely on anyone to help them. They should do their thing and do it well.
When you are doing these mentorship programs, what are you focusing on? Because there's been a shift lately to skill-oriented courses. The skill sets are very important because their employers now just look at your grades when they give you a job or internship or just some probation. Most of the students do not perform. So after probation, you find that they really can't get to move on.
I want to thank our government because they have moved to this direction. When I was in India for 7 years, that is 1985 through the year 2000, 1992, I saw that the Indian education was skill-oriented, and students don't learn there to get employed. Many learn to get a skill so that they can use it outside school. The same thing which I saw when I was in the US for 3 years. I saw that they are not so much interested with papers. They are only interested to what you are able to give, what you are able to do is most important there. So I want to say that we have really gone to the right direction with this kind of education where technical work, technical courses are given to our students so that they are able now to do jobs on their own.
Okay. Well, what do you feel like in terms of the curriculum is wanting? Because we cannot have a situation whereby we are churning out thousands and thousands every year, but they all go to unemployment.
I think the CPC as an intervention is going to give us fruit. Because once our children know exactly what they are able to do after school, and their capabilities known from the word go, then I think we are going to solve the problem of unemployment just at the source.
The other day there was an uproar from private schools that there is discrimination in terms of recruitment and selection of students. When they perform so well from private schools, they do not secure slots in public schools. Does that worry you as someone who has an interest in education? That you can take your child, pay school fees, give them the best, then they end up losing the slots in their desired schools?
I think every child has a right, whether in private, whether in public. These are our children. The policies should address the children, whether they are in private colleges or in private schools. This is why actually I say our brother, the CS Matiangi, really helped these private colleges like say Baraton and these are the Catholic University. Now that students can get the program, they can get support from the government, so long as they get the grades well. So I think regardless of whether it's private or public, every child has a right to education.
So finally, what are some of the challenges that you face in your day-to-day course of mentorship?
Day-to-day mentorship programs. For example, sometimes you go to an institution, you find that there's a time when they say, now we want to do exams. So you see the principals and teachers, they feel like spoon-feeding the children or availing them to various types of exams to an extent that they don't have time where the children are mentored. Because where they fail is that they don't think, they think that the more they bore into this, the heads of these children, the minds of these children, that is the only thing that is required. I just want to say, in a school curriculum, we need to have mentorship programs, because that's why we have children now sometimes rioting and spoiling things because their minds have been filled with academic work. They have been filled with mathematics and all these things. They don't have time for socializing, time for mentorship, time to speak to someone who can be able to guide them. So I think we need to balance between mentorship and the learning, between the teaching and the doing extracurricular activities like games, and also where we have, there are some places like at the Adventist Philosophy Education. You see, I went to Andrews, at Paraton. You find that students, apart from learning the coursework, they are also taught things like on how to survive, survival skills, say like trades, say like farming, say like those things that make people life full.
I remember, sorry to interject, I remember Spicer Memorial College had a program,
yes,
where during holidays some students go to Norway, Belgium to sell books and hustle, some to South Africa. And when I look at most of the students who were involved in that, they are more resilient. They can go out there, they are still out there, and I think that can help.
That is absolutely true. And actually, many of our young people who went, let's say, to Netherlands to do canvassing, they are more exposed. You see, when they go there, they meet people, they go, they knock doors, they meet various experiences, good and bad. So when these people come out here, they become very useful leaders for our community. So I think that's a wonderful program, and that is a Seventh-day Adventist-oriented education, where, like I can quote Sister White in the book Education, page 13, where she says, true education is the harmonious development of the spiritual, the mental, and physical and social faculties. And true education therefore prepares the learner for the joy of service in this world and for the higher joy in the world to come. So this is a holistic education where a child is not charged by the kind of grades he has just gotten, but where a child is charged by what he or she is able to bring out after school.
And maybe to ask you something about politics. I know you don't do politics, but from where you sit in church, we've seen politics. I don't know whether it crawls up and finally found its way. And we've seen even in churches sometimes this pastor is not happy with this one. We've seen even chaos. We've seen even police being asked to come and quell violence in the church, in the house of God. Is that something you as a pastor you can encourage, or what is your take on that?
Actually, I have done my MA paper on church and state. Maybe we can leave that one for another time, but let me just say that as a church, we believe that we have separation of state and church. So the church has its role to play, that's the spiritual part, while the state can also take the sword and do what is the rest. But I want to say that all along, our Seventh-day Adventist Church has worked very well with the government, and we many times pray for our leaders, and we don't encourage our people to be partisan. We support the government of the day, and we support it to where we are support. And of course, we give our votes. Everyone is allowed to do his vote as he thinks is proper. So maybe let's keep this one for next time.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe as we are coming to the end of the show, maybe you'll want to touch on a few other issues.
Okay, I could want to share 9 elements that cannot miss in a successful life. Those are the few things I could, as we come to the end of this show. I have borrowed a philosophy from Albert Einstein, a 19th century scientist, who said, I can see far because I stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before me. This is why I believe our young people should be exposed. Like in America, they bring, like you see the Old First Show, and these successful people, they interview them on TV stations, and they tell their experiences. This one, in the US, I tell you, a motivational speaker earns something like $1,000 per hour, because they know once someone presents something substantial, he impacts the nation positively. So I like what this man Easton said. I can see far because I stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before me. That means now we can stand on the shoulders of Solomon, the one who wrote the book of Proverbs. In Proverbs 23 verse 7 he says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That means your attitude, my attitude, makes me be what I am. If I think small, I become small. When I think big, I become big. When I think medium, I stay medium. So when we talk about attitude, and someone of course has given these letters, the A to 26, he has put them 1 to 26, ABC up to 26. And when you bring the word attitude, the letters totals up to 100%. In a classroom setting, I can give that. I can demonstrate that. But what that means is that attitude is everything if you have to succeed in any line where we are. So man is a product of his own thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. This is Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the Indian nation, who said this. Man is a product of his own thoughts. What I'm thinking every day, that makes me. What I think, it's what I become. There's also another man called Zig Ziglar. He said, if you think you can, you are right. And if you think you can't, you're also right. So who decides to be what you want to be?
Yes.
It is you. It is me who decide I want to succeed, and you succeed. So I want to give these 9 elements, and I'll just want you to write this acronym,
Yes.
a new start. Just write
A new
from
start.
a new start. And the A standing for attitude. So the first thing to change is attitude. When I'm with the students, I tell them, you see, the word can't. You just get the ama and the gisel, and then you try to cut off the apostrophe and the T. And then if it was can't, after this gisel, it becomes what? Can. You see? So actually, as we struggle in schools, as we struggle in communities, trying to change people, trying to transform lives, the first thing we must do is to change the attitude of these people. This is where the church comes in handy. This is where I meet our people in barazas, and I want to change them. For example, yesterday, Madam Chak, the area chief of our area here, had a baraza, and I went there. I spoke to the people, and I was telling them a pumpkin can stop hunger in a village. Just one seed of pumpkin. If you want to use it, instead of going stealing bananas from people's gardens, you only need to do pumpkin farming, or pig farming, or goat farming, and several other things that we are going to talk later on. The next letter is in N. N stands for nutrition. So, experts in nutrition have said, we are what we eat and drink. And one writer said, this is Ellen White, she said that those who eat and drink carelessly ends up thinking and acting carelessly. You see? So it matters what your nation is being fed on. This is why I want to thank His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, where I went to Kiambu sometime and I stopped the making of liquor, which was destroying the young people. And actually, since he took that action, I think there is some good improvement. And I think every other leader who comes up, we should focus that our young people, we stop them from taking drugs and taking alcohol and living loosely, and then we'll have a nation which is going somewhere. So nutrition is an area we can discuss and see how it can impact on our lives. In fact, even in exams, I came to realize in Gusi, sometimes our meals are not so good.
Can you say that again?
Our meals in terms of education. I was traveling one time from the US through Paris, France, and I was sitting with one man from Japan. And when I found out that I was with a man from Japan, I wanted to ask him questions.
Yes.
I asked him, what is the secret? Why is Japan going ahead of everyone else, including US and those other 20G? Why have you gone so ahead? Number one, he laughed and he said, okay, number one, we love our country. In other words, patriotism. Something I see missing in Kenya.
Yes.
Patriotism. The next thing he told me, in their land, they have some kind of vegetables which grow by the seaside. And these vegetables are fed the children when they are born, immediately they are born. Then I was saying, what? So there's a correlation between what we eat and our academic... yes. When I came back here, I found, yes, actually, what we eat makes us dwarfs or giants in matters of academic excellence. I have done a whole research on the same, and I have found out that there is a correlation, a direct correlation between what we eat and the performance in school. And I have done experiments. There is this new E, which stands for exercise. Exercise, everyone else knows that exercise is very good, whether you are a business person, whether you are a farmer, whether you are a teacher. Exercise is very important to
That
give
you
you.
can recommend for me.
Yes, so that you can
Can be like
you can throw away some of the extra weights,
yes,
so
yes,
that
yes.
you live longer and
Yes.
you live happily.
But you see, here in the village, we don't have gyms. We have. Is it something maybe you can encourage people in the village maybe to consider gymming, fitness?
I think you have
enthusiasts?
you have been to India yourself.
Yes, yes, yes.
You have seen parks. They have parks. They have recreational centers.
Yes.
Things we lack here in Kenya. So I could want to say that indeed, for the Americans and the Western and even India, I saw that they take into account exercise very much. That's why they have gyms and they have resting grounds. And I want to encourage you, and I want to actually say that you are doing something, because I can see here you are trying to prepare a ground where people can come, all conferences,
Yes.
where people can come and have recreation.
Yes.
Our children, you see, they don't have anywhere to go.
Yes.
I believe you are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I could say that exercise is something that we must do. Water.
Mhm.
These days, you see any conference, you see this. We used to see soda and all these things, but these days, when you see any kind of meeting, you see water on the table. Water is a very important thing. We call it water is life. Of course, when you use much of it outside and much of it inside, then water gives you the mood. Water gives you the focus.
Maybe before we leave the water,
Mhm.
if it's that important
Mhm.
and basic
Mm.
and essential,
Mhm.
then pricing or cost should not be an hindrance, or it's very prohibitive. My friend was arguing that just look at the water cartels.
Mhm.
These people, you can buy 1 liter of oil that has been refined
Mhm.
and transported from Saudi Arabia all the way, and
Mhm.
you get it here at 100 bob.
Mhm.
Then your neighbor is bottling water just next and is selling you a liter at 100 bob. Where is the fairness?
I think that is what we call monopoly. I could encourage that many people come up if we are to deal with these monopolists. Then someone will be selling at 10, the other one at 10, and then you find yourself, you don't have market, so you are forced to tote a line.
Fine.
Mm.
But water, if you can encourage people to lower the price, the better.
The better, but I could also encourage to have our young people, those who are unemployed,
Yes.
why can't they see an opportunity
Yes.
so that they can start bottling
Yes.
and they sell at a cheaper price and then they get money?
Okay.
Yes. Then with sunshine,
Mhm.
like now you can see we are basing on this
Yeah,
sunshine, though much of it, when it is beyond the 10, it becomes also cancerous.
Yes.
So we need to be very careful. Of course, we take that one which is in the morning, and that's why even I really am happy with those who made the school curriculum. They have put the break at the right time, when the sun is very mild and very good, which gives vitamin D. So sunshine is something that we cannot skip. Then there is temperance, kiasi. We need to do everything temperately. That's why I tell even the teachers, we need to give these children a break. Let them relax. We don't have to wake at 4 o'clock and then we go at 10 o'clock in the night and they rest for only a few hours. In fact, I went to one school. I challenged the head teacher. I told him, why can't you just try what I'm telling you? Let these children go to bed at least 9. By 9, they are in bed. Up to, say, 3 or 4. And then they wake up. And that year, the students performed well. So much of what we are doing, many times we are killing our children because we make them work too hard and long hours without rest, and then we have that marginal returns.
Maybe
So
you can talk about on this issue.
temperance, yes.
Like when you talk of young children, like in Nairobi, because of the traffic jams, the gridlocks we experience each and every day. You have children as young as 7, 8-year-olds waking up at 5. They spend 4 hours in the morning jam. They go to school, spend another 4 hours coming back at home. So 8 hours is spent on the road in a day.
I think with technology now, like what I saw in the US, we need even to use Zoom, and then we teach our children right there they are.
Yes.
So we should come up with this technology. You see, the Jubilee government told us about the laptops,
Yes.
which children could be using by now.
Not a single laptop. has
Maybe
been-
I'm not going to. I don't want to be dragged in that, but I just want to say this: that technology now is with us here.
Yes.
We now all conferences world over, people from the US, people from Europe, people from Africa, we can talk at the round table conference just using the Zoom.
Yes.
Why can't we use this kind of thing so that we avoid the charms, so that the children are gathered within their area, and then the Zoom helps to bring the teachers to class. Then we have the air, which is very important, ventilation in the houses, ventilation where we are working, waking up very early in the morning, having a jog in the field, and getting the fresh air in the morning. That's very important. And finally, I want to finish with the last element in this ladder of a new start. And this one is trust in the divine power, trust in God. You know, sometimes I wonder, those people are not Christians. When they face challenges like stressful things, whom do they tell? For us Christians, when I have a challenge, I just go on my knees and I pray to God, and I am relieved. So what I say is that God is a present help in trouble. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 10, it says, "The name of the Lord is a stronghold. The righteous run to it and they are saved." In Psalms 34, verse 7, it says, "The angels of the Lord camps around about all those who fear God, and they deliver them from their challenges." So if our children could know that we have such a resource of protection, a resource of assistance from God, then our children will never think of suicide. For the last month, we have had suicides. When you listen to the vernacular radios here in Kisii, in fact, there were about 40 people who had committed suicide last month itself. And this one comes because of the stressful life we are living today. And that's why I'm saying a show like the one we have here, we have the aim of helping our young people. Instead of committing suicide, we put them into life skills. We give them life skills. We give them opportunities so that they are able to do something without necessarily depending on their parents, on the government. Because anasema saidia, serikali saidia, while they should be able to do something for themselves. So actually in this show, my brother, I want to assure our viewers that from today, we are going to bring a series of programs which are going to encourage our young people practically. For the last 30 years, I said, I have seen young people who have come from nothing. And several of them, I meet them in Narok, I meet them in Nakuru, I meet them in Nairobi. They say, "Pastor, you really helped me. Now I have my own farm. I have my own." Some of them have bought lands on their own because of this. The best thing we can ever do to our young people is not to give them something. It is just to empower them to do something, to encourage them, to think big, to do things for themselves. And I think you are on the right direction as we share in this show.
I think I must applaud you for that, because if you look at the level of hopelessness in this country, the disillusionment is what is driving people even to commit. You see a person, you think he's doing very well, he wakes up in the morning, he shoots his spouse. We've seen very many cases, which is worrying. I think the issue of mental illness is maybe intertwined with the kind of stress you're talking about, and maybe in one of our shows, maybe you can
actually we'll do that. I have a friend, Dr. Nderi, who teaches at Maseno University,
Yes.
and we have been developing a program
Yes.
where we want to deal with mental health, because we have realized in our society now it's not just unemployed, even the employed,
Yes.
they are going stressful moments.
Yes.
So we need to look into this and find out how we can help our people, those who are working class, those who are in the streets, those who are jobless, so that we give each a dose which is helpful to, to these particular people.
You can invite him to the show one of these
Yeah,
times.
we are developing something with Dr. Onderi, which is very serious, and I believe we are going to give something to this nation.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else that you've left out? I think our viewers are still watching. I can see, yeah, maybe just give them something.
Okay.
Tell them what we're gonna do next.
So, as a final shot, I want to say that God is the source of true peace. If we want peace, really, we need a relationship with God. And as we meet next time, maybe on Sabbath, I am going to give a message that is going to connect you with the God of Elijah. The God who is a personal God, who deals with your personal problems at that level where you are. And he loves you, and he knows where he wants to take you. And this is why I want to encourage everyone, at least you have your Bible and read it every day and you pray. I think at this time I want to pray for all of us.
Before you pray, maybe,
yes.
I wanted to remind you that we want to reach a bigger audience. We need some facilitation here and there. Maybe if you can appeal to those your friends who want to support, who want to be partners of the show, they are welcome.
I want to say that actually we have the content. Just to upload it on here is what is our limitation. So anyone who feels that you would want to support this kind of program, you are invited, and may God bless you. Let's pray. My Father, I want to thank you for this hour. Brother Eric, we have shared this important information, and we know we are speaking to someone out there who is discouraged, someone who thinks this is the end of the road. But I want to pray, dear Father, that you open their minds to know that, Lord, you are a God who loves them and you have good plans for them. And I know through this show, you want to reach many with the skills and with the hope in the hopeless life. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you.
And for viewers, we are grateful that you've been with us. Let's make a date again. Let's meet in our next show. Thank you and God bless. Yes.
Is that okay?
That's okay. That's okay.